ticking on a Congressional Super Committee to come up with $1.2 trillion in cuts by November 23rd. That is 2 weeks from today. So will there be a deal that a divided Congress can pass? And what might it look like? Joining us are Democratic Congressman Earl Blumenauer of Oregon and Republican Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee. Welcome to both of you. Good to see you both again.
Thank you.
Congressman Blackburn, handicap this for me. What do you think the percentage chance is that the Super Committee will come to an agreement and then take that to a vote in both sides of Congress?
Right. I don't know if I would give it a percent, but I can tell you that I'm fairly confident that they're going to come up with that 1.2 to 1.5 trillion in cuts, because the American people know that Washington has a spending problem and they want to see reductions made. There are plenty of places to go to begin to make those reductions, and I know that the Select Committee has been focused and that they're in D.C. this week working diligently.
Congressman Blumenauer, what do you say? What do you think the odds are that there will be an agreement, and what do you think the odds are that that agreement, I'll come back to you, Congressman Blackburn, in a moment, will be a so-called balanced approach that the Democratic side insists upon, which is to say part revenue raising and part spending cuts?
Well, if it's not balanced, it's a no-go. The American public very strongly supports. They understand that we have the lowest tax collection since Harry Truman was president, and we have a growing population that is aging. They see no reason to shield some of the wealthiest of Americans from having shared sacrifice. I think there's a 50-50 chance that we can put this together. There are lots of opportunities for spending reductions, reforming our bloated, ineffective agricultural programs that are supported by people on the left and Tea Party Republicans. There's a path forward, but it's only going to work if it's balanced, and the American public in poll after poll shows that they think that's the path forward.
So, Congressman Blackburn, the Democrats, speaking through Representative Blumenauer, they've been real clear. If it's not balanced, if it doesn't include revenue enhancements, it's going nowhere. Can the GOP side of the aisle go along with some revenue raising as part of a deal to get that $1.2 trillion?
When it comes to tax increases, I'm a no vote, and the American people are a no vote. They know that Washington doesn't have a taxing problem. It's got a spending problem. And you can ask poll after poll, what percentage do you think is enough for Washington to take from an individual? And you don't get any over 35% of that. When you ask people, should your employer be taxed more, then they say no. So you have to look at the subsets on that. People know that the spending is out of control. You've got to get the spending under control so that Washington sends a message that it's going to get its fiscal house in order, so that you're going to see innovation. There's a formula to take to the bank. It works every time. It is old math. It's not new stimulus math, but it's this: less regulation plus less litigation plus less taxation equals more innovation and job creation. Take it to the bank. It works every time. That's what the American people want to see.
Forgive me for interrupting. It sounds like we've got a logjam here. You have said absolutely not. You'd be a no vote. If you were on this Super Committee, you would say no because you're against any revenue enhancements.
I am against any tax increases.
What's the difference?
What Marsha's talking about is basically what the Bush program was for 8 years when the Republicans controlled Congress and Bush was in the White House, and it didn't work. We had the greatest job loss for decades. Let me
conclude with a simple question, if I might. If the Super Committee cannot come to some kind of agreement, there will be $1.2 trillion worth of cuts mandated by the law passed back in early August. That will mean that a lot of people will lose their jobs. Service people will lose their jobs. People in defense industries will lose their jobs. Presumably people in healthcare industries will lose their jobs as well. If the Super Committee cannot come to agreement and Congress can't, should Congress lose its jobs? Should we vote all of you out?
I think that you're going to see some serious spending reductions that are going to come forward. I think that you are going to see a push by the American people to do what many of us have pushed for many years, pushing effectiveness and efficiencies into the federal bureaucratic system.
Well,
they want to see less of a government reach and not more of a government reach.
Congressman Blumenauer,
in answer to your question, I think if we can't do a better job of pulling this together, every congressional seat potentially is at risk. But the point is that lots of Republicans are now understanding that they took an oath to the Constitution, not to Grover Norquist, that they're open, as the American public is open, to a balanced approach. I think there's a reasonable chance that that will happen.
I tell you, the American people know Washington is not the answer, that America is the answer, and they want us to scale back the reach and scope of Washington, D.C. and the federal government. That's what we're committed to.
Congressman Blackburn, thank you for being back with us. Representative Blumenauer, nice to see you both again. Our nation turns its lonely eyes to you. Good luck to you all.
That was spirited. That was spirited.